This one was more entertaining than the part one, but still not very good. Um, I actually remember one part of this movie because my cousin was a big Twilight fan, and she watched this on the TV, and I had walked in on it. I think I was probably about 9, and it was the big fucking fight with all the vampires and the werewolves, and she told me I was too young and I had to leave. But that is what I always remembered Twilight for. It's not something I mentioned because I didn't think it was relevant. Because, when I got older, I always saw the memes about how it's just sappy romance movies that take itself too seriously. But when I was a kid, I always thought that, for whatever reason, that the Twilight movies were all action packed, badass movies. And I always wanted to watch them as a kid, but I never tried. I was more into Transformers at that age and Spider Man and Scooby Doo and all that shit. Well, anyways, it's not like that because the big badass fight, it's still pretty good, especially for a Twilight movie. One dude, most of the things are just decapitations because that's literally the only way you can kill vampires, and they're the ones that need to lose. The werewolves are on the good side. Um, but one of them was actually pretty brutal, where instead of a typical decapitation, she rips his head off by the jaw, and it's a bit slow, especially for a PG-13 movie. You can see it start to crack. Another dude gets ripped in half. Um, there's a bunch of actors that I did not expect to see in Twilight. Like one of my favorite actors, Rami Malek, who was the prince in Night at the Museum. Josh in Until Dawn. Freddie. I was about to say Freddie Prince Jr. for whatever reason. He was that famous gay artist that I can't think of the name of right now. He's done a lot of shit, and he's even won an Oscar. He's pretty good, and he's here, and he really doesn't do that much. The most memorable scene that I remember from him is there's two of them, but he usually doesn't even that talk that much. He's usually just on screen. All the other actors usually talk more than him. But there's a scene with him and Taylor Lautner where they're talking like they're buddies, even though Jacob has expressed his hatred for vampires. Did they just forget that Jacob hates vampires? It's pretty funny. It almost seemed like friends, and they're just chilling. And then the second is during the vision battle when he fucking punches a hole in the ground, which is pretty cool. But that's really all he does. He's just kind of there. We also get Joe Anderson, who played a guy in the movie Horns with Daniel Radcliffe. That's all I know him from. Um, we also get Lace. I can't think of his other name right now, but Lace, who played Ronan in the Marvel movies. He plays one of the vampires. He's done other roles, but that's the main one I know him from. And I have seen some of his other roles, but that's really all I can think of right now is that he was fucking Ronan, and now he's in this sappy romance movie. Um, the big vision battle, several main characters get killed, starting off with Carly. Um, Steph ends up dying too, and Confederate soldier lover Jasper dies too. I could give less of a fuck. Seth's death is pretty brutal. He takes out a vampire, and then he's about to take out another one, but someone else comes from behind and uses their powers to, like, basically torture him. And then another vampire snaps his neck, and his eyes slowly start to close. It's pretty brutal, especially for a character that was supposed to be, definitely younger. They never specify his age, but he was definitely a kid. They basically do the same treatment to Seth, though, as the third movie. In the third movie, he had one scene where he was actually on screen, and the rest he was a wolf. In the fourth movie, he had a lot more scenes. But in this movie, he does not have a single scene. He's just a wolf every time we see him. There's not even a transformation where we see him turn into the wolf. Speaking of transformations, there's also a very dumb scene that I guess was supposed to be funny. Even though Jacob usually turns into a werewolf with either all of his clothes on or just his shirt off, in this movie he decides he needs to take his shirt and pants off. Because he's going to reveal himself to Bella's dad or whatever. So there's that. Um, it was clearly supposed to be funny, but I didn't really find it funny because I don't know why he stripped down to his boxers besides to tease the women and male audience. So, okay. um, her secret being kind of revealed didn't even really matter because, if she tells him he's a vampire, he would be killed. So she can't tell him that he's a vampire. He just knows that these type of things exist or whatever. So, yeah, he isn't even in the movie that much. There's also a daughter. Their daughter is in the movie, and she has a ugly ass CGI face as a baby and as a kid. They just couldn't hire a kid actor for whatever reason. So that was something. Yeah, really not that much happened. Once the vision's over, we find out, oh yeah, shit, none of it actually happened, and all the vampires just kind of go away. So wow, that was really cool. One of the characters is, she was in the previous movies, but I forgot to mention her, partly because I didn't know her actual name, and partly because I couldn't find who she played in the movies. But one of the Voltorian is played by the girl from Cat in the Hat. I thought she was from Maleficent for whatever reason, but she's not. Honestly, out of all the movies, this definitely has the least amount of drama. Not too much happens. The movie ends, and they credit like all of the actors in the entire 5 movies, besides maybe one that was in this movie, unless I missed him. There was a new vampire. He was like the final witness, and he ends up taking off because he doesn't want to get into a battle. And I couldn't find anything about who played him because I didn't remember his name. But the end credits show Jacob's dad, Jacob, Robert Pattinson, basically everybody. They even show Victoria and Victoria's old actress. This is the first movie where the Bella's high school friends finally don't appear, though they do appear in the credits. And Seth appears in the credits too, even though he never appeared in the actual movie. But yeah, this movie, just because of the fight scene alone, was definitely better than Breaking Dawn Part 1. Though it ended up just being a vision, which was stupid. It was a pretty good fight scene. I expected it to be really bad with how bad this movie series was and how most of the fight scenes were just kind of lame. But man, they went all out just for it to not even be a thing. Especially since it was a vision, they could have killed off Edward and Jacob and Bella, but they didn't. Would have been cool, but they didn't. Or just one of them. Just for it to be revealed that it was a vision. I unfortunately knew it was a vision, not because of other people spoiling it, but because of my dumbass never paid attention to like what color Seth was as a wolf, because whatever reason all werewolves are different colors. I looked up if that was Seth that died when he died, and then the fucking Google search tells me that, oh, it's all a vision. Like, that's not what I asked. I asked which wolf was it that died. Why'd you have to do me like that? So I got spoiled that it was just a vision. And that was all on me. They also bring back 2 things that I had completely forgotten about. One of them was a very minor thing. I completely forgot her dad was a cop. It was a big thing in the first movie and never matters again in the other movies. But in the scene where he leaves, he's driving a cop car. I was like, oh yeah, he's a cop, and that's it. Um, the other thing is, all the werewolves having, not werewolves, all the vampires having different powers. I completely forgot that was a thing. It just kind of faded out of the movies that all the vampires have different powers. Like, I don't even remember what Victoria's different power was. Like her controlling people or something. And that was all the way back in the third movie. But yeah, I completely forgot vampires have different powers in this movie. Also, one character refers to Native Americans as Indians, which I personally do not like. It's not a slur or anything, but it's just not correct. Native Americans are Indians. It's not the right term. It's always dumb when I hear it. And Edward and Bella live happily ever after or whatever. This series was something else, and would I ever watch it again? Definitely not. Um, there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about. They talked about it was either Breaking Dawn or the third movie, but they both were pretty forgettable. Um, that Bella's dad has never moved on. He's never remarried. He's never even started dating again. And Bella asks him why he does that, and he gives an answer why he doesn't want to date anymore. Yet in this movie, he has a girlfriend. I don't think she even has a line in the movie, but she shows up once or twice. Her name is Sue, and he has her arm around her and stuff. So I'm assuming they're dating. We never see them kiss, but she lives at his house and everything, and he's a grown man. I don't think it would be a roommate. It could be. But yeah, I guess he has a girlfriend now, even though in the previous movies they said he didn't want one. So, okay. That's weird. And they don't even acknowledge it. It's like, hey, this is Sue or whatever. So, cool. And yeah, that's it.